Good evening, everybody. I will call the February 1st, 2022 meeting at the Yucca Valley Town Council to order. And our first order of business is a report out of closed session.
Yes, thank you. The town council met in closed session with respect to the one item on the closed session agenda, and there's no reportable action, and that concludes the report.
Thank you. Maybe we have a roll call, please.
Council members Abel.
Here.
Dennison.
Here.
Droz.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
And Mayor Abel. I'm sorry, Mayor Schooler.
Here.
Sorry.
Okay. Chopped liver already. Okay, if you'll please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Droz is going to lead us, and then remain standing. We are being joined online by Pastor Nessie to lead us in an invocation.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us be in a time of prayer as we gather together. Gracious Creator of all things, we gather here today to discuss issues and make decisions. Instruct and lead us on this righteous path of yours. Nurture our hearts and minds as we continue to serve your people. Teach us to understand and follow your words, and comfort our uncertainties from peer pressure. Reveal your gifts so that we that serve your faith communities can share it with those who seek it. We appreciate your unconditional love and are thankful for everything that you have blessed us with. Thank you for the community leaders and mentors that are gathered here this evening with us. As we begin this meeting, we want to thank you, O Holy One. May you bless each person who took the time to gather here today. Let your hand of protection be on us all throughout the rest of the week. Let the work done here tonight come to a realization, and let it all be for your glory. Help us each to do our part to bring the plans discussed to life. Bless the agenda to be fruitful and for the common good. Grant that our mayor and council leaders have ears to listen to the people they serve and the wisdom to act for justice. Bless all these things that will be spoken here and every one of us. In these things we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Well done.
Thank you, Pastor Nessie of the Yucca Valley United Methodist Church,
Very nice.
for joining us tonight. Do we have any presentations? No presentations. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote?
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
And Mayor Schooler.
Yes. The consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comment on the consent agenda items should be filed with the town clerk. Does anybody in the public have any comments or wish to pull any items from the agenda, the consent agenda? Any member of staff or town council?
No.
And we'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that.
Council members Abel.
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
And Mayor Schooler.
Yes. Public hearings. First public hearing is electoral districts, adoption of the updated town council district boundaries. Can we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Your first public hearing this evening is for the review of the town's electoral district boundaries. as they relate to the 2020 U.S. Census results. This is the fourth required public hearing to gain the community's input on proposed boundaries. The council may recall that at the third public hearing in November, the town's demographer, National Demographics Corporation, presented 2 draft maps which incorporated the updated census information. After council discussion, the map which was most favored was NDC 101. Since the draft maps became available, they've been displayed for public review in the town hall lobby as well as the town's website. The website also includes a link to an interactive map process provided by NDC, where the community could delve deeper into the census numbers and create different map versions. After tonight's discussion, if the council is ready to make a decision on a boundary map, the ordinance can be introduced with a second reading scheduled for February 15th and become effective by mid-March. Going back a little bit, even though the public could create their own maps, I have not received any public input on any other options, though there may be somebody here in the audience or the public that might want to discuss that tonight. So again with us this evening is Todd Tatum of NDC to provide a brief overview of how we came to where we are today and to field any questions regarding the mapping process.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you again. It's nice to be back for what I believe is going to be our fourth and final hearing. Again, our deadline for adoption is April 17th. Just a quick review of how we got here and what the rules and goals that we followed to get to this point. Number one, we had to follow the federal laws, which mean equal population. We follow the Federal Voting Rights Act. Absolutely no racial gerrymandering. Number two, we followed the California criteria for cities, and again, this year it's in ranked order. Number one being geographically contiguous. Our districts, we try to have undivided neighborhoods and communities of interest. We want easily identifiable boundaries. We want to keep our districts compact, and we shall not favor or discriminate against any political party whatsoever. The third, more traditional redistricting principles that we follow, we want to minimize voters that are shifted into different election years. We want to respect the voters' choices and keep continuity in the current offices. We do look at any future population growth and identify that on your maps, and we want to preserve the core of your existing districts. Another quick review of the initial draft maps that we drew for you all. Both maps that were created had a deviation that falls under the required 10% or less. If you remember your current existing district map, the deviation is 14.83%, so lines did need to be moved. NDC map 101 has a deviation of 5.39%, and map 102 has a deviation of 5.07%. Again, here's a map of your existing districts with your existing districts' demographics. NDC 101. This is actually the map that you all seem to like and the one that it looks like you will pick. Again, you can see the current district lines where they were and the adjustments that were made. The top portion of District 3 was divided between Districts 1 and 2. The demographics of that district. NDC 102, which has just a few changes as well as 101 did. You can see the top portion of 3 has some of District 2 in it, and District 1 has some into District 3. Like Leslie said, on your website, you've got the simple map review tool, which is the ArcGIS Online, where you can interactively compare the current map with the draft maps. And with that, it's my understanding that the town attorney and or staff can introduce the ordinance to adopt map 101 if you wish. And if you want before that, I'm happy to answer any questions or review any of the maps or documents that we've presented. And again, thank you for choosing NDC to work with you. I told Tom earlier, you are my first redistricting client this go around to get to this point where we hopefully will introduce the ordinance tonight and move forward. So thank you again, and I've enjoyed coming here.
Well,
So
thank you.
Thank you for the information, Todd. It's been a pleasure working with you and NDC throughout the process, and we very much appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
So council, the recommendation before you is to conduct a public hearing to receive public input on district boundaries, and if ready to do so, to introduce the ordinance adopting a map establishing new electoral district boundaries for the Yucca Valley Town Council. This concludes the staff report, and we'll be happy to answer any questions following the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing. Are there any members of the public in the room that would like to comment on this item? Any members of the public online, joining us online, that would like to comment on this item? No. Seeing and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for input or action. Any members of the council? Jeff? I'm sorry.
I'd just like to say, I think 101 is fine. 102 has a little more better percentage, but 102 actually separates Little League Drive half and half, and I don't think that's a good idea. So anyway, I think NDC 101 is a great map.
I think the 101 map will work fine for me too. My district really doesn't change much at all, so it has very little effect to me, but I think that it was needed to change some of the demographic shifting of numbers, but I think it's good. I go with 101.
Yeah, I also believe the 101 proposal is the most clear-cut for the constituents where you live, and doesn't disrupt really the voting of very many people at all. So I agree, 101 seems to be the clearest map for me.
And I would agree also, just like the earlier hearings that we've had, the boundaries between the districts is cleaner. There's less delineation out of that. Much cleaner for the residents to understand which district and who the representative is. Even though there was a small fraction of a percent difference, it is the best for the community for clarity.
And I concur, this is not a major change in any way. It's a relatively small tweak. And as we've talked about before, it's cleaner lines, and so I embrace that as well. I will entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, if you take a motion, you may want to read the title as part of your final motion.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the reminder. An ordinance of the Town of Yucca Valley, Town Council of the Town of Yucca Valley, California, adjusting the boundaries of Town Council electoral districts and redefining the boundaries of all Town Council electoral districts of the Town of Yucca Valley. And there was a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the map NDC 101 for item number 5.
And I'll second that.
Council members Abel?
Yes.
Dennison?
Yes.
Troz?
Yes.
Lombardo?
Yes.
And Mayor Schooler.
Yes. Okay, item number 6. Community Development Block Grant Prioritization Hearing.
Thank you, Todd.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jordan here online. I'll be presenting the staff report. Hi there. I see my face popped up. I hope you all are doing well this evening. Just quickly, staff report before we open the public hearing. The Community Development Block Grant Prioritization Hearing is to review the recommended allocation of the fiscal year 2022 through 23 Cdbg grant funding, which is an estimated $146,300. The recommendation presented to you this evening is to allocate the full award amount toward the ongoing capital improvement project at the Tri-Valley Little League fields. The Cdbg funding cycle received a total of 4 applications that were approved, including the Town of Yucca Valley's project application. And then there were 3 public service program applications submitted by the local nonprofit organizations FSA, the County Library, and the High Desert Boys and Girls Club. Town staff has included in the recommendation to facilitate invitations for the other applicants to apply for the town's annual partnership program, which accommodates local nonprofits, programs, and services on an annual basis. So the recommendation for your review and approval is to first allocate the entire fiscal year 2022-23 Cdbg allocation to the Tri-Valley Little League Improvement Project, and secondly, to direct staff to invite the non-funded organizations to apply for the general fund or Measure Y fund partnership consideration or for consideration as part of the fiscal year 2022-23 budget process. I'll be available for any other questions after the public comment.
Okay, I will open the public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this item?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. My name is Leslie Teepee. I am representing the Yucca Valley Branch Library. I know Curtis took the time to speak to us today about the allocation, but we just want to present what the library is doing with the literacy program. So the goal of the literacy program is to assist English-speaking adults to read and write at a level that will help them succeed and accomplish goals. The goals of our program participants vary, but often include applying for a job, accessing the internet, passing a written DMV test, helping their children with homework, or obtaining a GED or other degrees that would better qualify them to enter to the workforce or improve their current positions. Our adult literacy programs serve the community need. Basic literacy skills play a major role in being able to function a day-to-day at work, at home, and at play. A community thrives when those living in it are able to teach, learn, and sustain these skills. According to the California Department of Education, more than 4 million Californian adults cannot read beyond third grade level. This means they cannot read voting ballots, medication instructions, or bedtime stories to their children. Children of low literacy parents are more likely to become low literacy themselves. It is no coincidence that counties with high unemployment rates also have a high percentage of adults lacking basic literacy skills. The adult literacy program provides unduplicated services, while the local community college provides citizenship, GED, and ESL classes. Our literacy program provides individual instruction by volunteer tutors at no cost for the hard-to-reach learner population who may not succeed in a traditional classroom setting, but can thrive in a one-on-one learning environment. The literacy program at the San Bernardino County Library, Yucca Valley Branch, it is unique as it strives to serve the community directly by offering distinct services: individual tutoring, job seeker classes, basic computing and basic internet, and mature driver's education. This fiscal year, our adult literacy program has adapted to provide digital options to meet the challenges of the pandemic. In addition, we offer adult literacy launchpad tablets that are preloaded with apps, games, videos, and more to assist learning English grammar, spelling, and writing. Library card holders are able to check out up to 3 tablets at a time to aid in reaching their literacy goals. With the support of the town of Yucca Valley, we look forward to helping many more adults reach their full potential as parents, employees, and members of the Yucca Valley community. Thank you for your opportunity to present and for your continued support of the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this item? Anybody online? No? Okay, we will close the public hearing on that and bring it back to council for comment. Or a motion?
Pretty much what we've done in the past too is to put this this funding, the CBD, towards the project, and the boys and girls, the baseball.
Tri-Valley Little League.
Tri-Valley Little League is something that needs to be funded, and I think it's a worthy project. I would like to make the motion that we approve the funding, and if there's any other.
Yeah, I'll agree that CBD guidelines and so forth, this is the most efficient way to be able to spend those monies, and I'll second.
I have a motion and a second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
and Mayor Schooler.
Yes. Moving on to department reports, item number 7. Maybe we have a staff report on that, please.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. I'll be presenting the staff report for the item number 7, which is the second half of the long-term financing discussion that was previously reviewed and approved by Council at the December 21st meeting. So at that meeting, Town Council recommended for staff to move forward with looking toward potential private and public offering options for long-term financing. The town's financing team that was put together for this project provided town staff with a competitive list of offers and options along with their expertise and insight based off of the current market and then their experience with the lenders that brought forward proposals. So based off of those proposals received from various lenders and then a comparison of potential rates via public offering, it was deemed the most advantageous and also the lowest cost to the town to pursue a private placement offering through First Foundation Bank. So for the town, the completion of this debt issuance, if it were to be approved and recommended to move forward, will move the organization of the town of Yucca Valley towards the prompt completion of several capital projects that will benefit multiple generations of town residents. In addition, the timing of the issuance leverages the low interest rates that are still available on the market. And then town staff, just as kind of an overall note in this process, we completed some projections of the impact on the debt service through its term. And would just want to note for future questions or discussion that from what we looked at for general fund projections, it does ensure that the annual debt service payment would be accommodated while also preserving the town's reserve fund levels. So with that, we have a few people online from the finance team. So I just want to reintroduce Bud and Robert, I believe, from Wolf Hansen are online. And they can provide any details and answers to questions once we are finished with public comment. So I'll turn it over to Bud here to see if he has any additional information for you. And then from that, we'll go over the recommendation one more time.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It's a pleasure for us to be here and bring this attractive financing back to the council for approval. I'm going to turn this over to Rob Pankratz to walk you through a little bit of the background and what we need to accomplish tonight. And with that, Rob, why don't you take over and make your presentation.
Thank you, Bud, and good evening, Mayor and Town Council. My name is Rob Pankratz, and I'm here with Bud. We're with Wolf Hansen and Company. We are the municipal advisor to the town. We're here tonight to give a summary and answer questions related to the proposed 2022 financing that's before you tonight for final approval. In my summary, I'm going to be covering how we got to where we are today, the process we used to identify and select the lender for the 2022 financing. I'll go over key terms of the proposed financing, what we need to be approved tonight, next steps, and then lastly, we'll open it up to questions from the council. I want to thank Jordan for your introduction and for your great staff report. That makes our job a lot easier tonight. And also thank you to Curtis and the rest of the staff for all of your prompt responses to all of our requests for information from the whole team. We really needed this information to get the process moving forward, and we are really grateful to be working with just such a well-run organization. You've made our jobs a lot easier and more efficient, so thank you for that. Getting into the bulk of the presentation, I'm going to start with how we got to where we are tonight. In 2021, and even before that, the town had determined that it intended to fund various capital improvement projects, including the new aquatic center and rec facility, the town hall consolidation project, and the senior center modernization project. Us, Wolf Hansen, we were contacted by the town in 2021 to assist in arranging the financing, predominantly based on our past experiences working with the town with respect to your 2018 successor agency financing, as well as various discussions over the last 2 years with staff about this project. Also here tonight is Brian Quint, bond counsel from Quint and Timig, who was brought in along with the underwriter placement agent, Brandis Tallman, a division of Oppenheimer, who has Rick Brandis and Michael Garcia here tonight as well. All three of our firms were formally hired in December of 2021 to round out the financing team. At the December 21st council meeting, the council approved Resolution 2149, authorizing the commencement of proceedings in connection with the issuance and sale of securities. I'll refer to that hereafter as the 2022 financing. At that meeting, due to the rising interest rate environment, and more on that in a minute, the financing team was given direction to come back to the council as quickly as reasonably possible with the financing ready for final approval. In the first few weeks of January of this year, the financing team conducted a competitive lender request for proposal process, soliciting bids from more than 20 institutional investors, ultimately receiving bids from 4 banks that are typical investors in these types of projects. When the group designed the lender RFP, due to the volatile and rising interest rate environment, the team requested that banks submitting a proposal provide rate lock provisions for the purpose of limiting the town's exposure to rising interest rates. The financing team reviewed 4 proposals with staff and determined that the bid submitted by First Foundation Public Finance provided the town with both the lowest interest rate and the most attractive terms when compared to the other proposals that we received. Additionally, the team solicited feedback from the investors that elected not to submit a proposal for this financing, and we just wanted to share the 2 primary reasons that investors gave for passing on this opportunity. The first was just really general nervousness and uncertainty relating to this rapidly changing interest rate environment. And the second reason had to do with average life and maturity considerations, meaning that the investors indicated that the proposed term of 20 years was a little bit too long for their appetite under current market conditions. So coming back around to the First Foundation proposal, First Foundation offered the town the most competitive interest rate, very favorable prepayment provisions, and the requested rate lock that limits the town's exposure to this rising interest rate environment. The team and staff took the First Foundation proposal and we compared it to the numerical results of a public offering based on the most relevant and recent available comparable sales data from other similar California municipal issuers. This comparison demonstrated to all of us that the First Foundation proposal would provide the town with a lower cost financing, both in terms of total debt service and in terms of financing fees, than what was available in the public market at that time on January 14th. Since that analysis was completed and up through yesterday, tax-exempt interest rates have risen dramatically. The 10-year municipal market data index, referred to as the MMD, is the base rate in which all tax-exempt municipal bonds are priced off of. That specific 10-year indicator has risen by more than 37 basis points since that analysis was put together earlier in January. The long-term indicator, the 30-year MMD, has also increased by 31 basis points since that time. That's a really large jump for 2 weeks, something that we really do not see very often in the interest rate world. So these rapid increases in rates, like the ones that are taking place right now, really only occur when the bond market is experiencing a lot of turmoil and significant uncertainty, sort of pointing back to why some of the investors elected not to submit a bid. But fortunately for all of us and for the town, the First Foundation bid did provide the town with the ability to lock the interest rate as of January 14th. And as a result, the town does not have to absorb this large increase in interest rates. So going on beyond the value of the rate lock offered by First Foundation, I'll also give a quick summary here of the terms proposed by First Foundation. So the First Foundation proposed a interest rate for a 20-year financing of 2.36%. It's a very attractive interest rate. It's the most attractive rate out of all of the bids that were submitted. Furthermore, they offered very, very favorable prepayment provisions to the town, allowing the town to prepay the loan if it so desires after 7 years with no premium. The industry standard for this type of financing is a 10-year option to prepay without premium. So this is a very strong term offered by First Foundation. Additionally, First Foundation gave the town the ability to draw down the financing amount, which will result in an even lower all-in cost than the 2.36% that I quoted just a minute ago. The last drawdown will need to be completed by December of 2022. Next, I want to state for the record our good faith estimates for the financing. This is a required disclosure that's formally referred to as a 5852.1 disclosure. These figures I'm going to quote are also presented in the staff report. The first figure is the true interest cost of the financing. That's the all-in interest rate. And we've projected that to be 2.36%. The financing charges for this transaction at the time this projection was put together was estimated to be $229,000. The net proceeds to be received by the town, that's the financing amount less the financing charges, is estimated to be $20 million. And the total payment amounts through maturity of principal and interest, we estimate to total $25,436,857.63. I do want to note that these figures, although they're very close to being final, they're not completely final, as we're still in the process of verifying various financing charges. And at this time, we expect the financing charges to come in below that 229 figure I quoted earlier. We're looking at a number right now closer to 215,000. With our summary of the financing and the process, we want to go over also what you're being asked to approve as part of tonight's resolution. So tonight we're asking for the final approval for the 2022 financing with the identified lender, First Foundation Public Finance. The documents that are required to complete this transaction have been included as attachments to the resolution. These documents include the lease agreement, the site and facility lease, the letter agreement for purchase, and the placement agent agreement. These agreements and the purpose of each of them are excellently defined in Jordan's staff report, and Brian Quint, bond counsel, is also here on the line to answer any specific questions relating to the legal documents that you may have. Lastly, before I open it up for questions, I want to just quickly go over what the next steps are. If tonight's resolution is approved, the team and staff will work with First Foundation to complete the 2022 financing. It's anticipated that if we're approved tonight, the term sheet will be signed in the next few days, meaning that your credit is officially approved and we can move forward to a close. It's anticipated that the financing will close on February 17th, at which time the funds will be available for the city to spend on the aquatics and rec facility, the town hall project, and the senior center project. I do want to note that per the drawdown provisions from First Foundation and our conversations with staff, the staff's informed us that the town will draw down approximately $2.7 million at closing, which will be comprised of about $2.5 million in project costs, as well as the financing fees. And then the remaining balance of the financing will be drawn down by December of 2022, which again reduces the first year interest costs to the town. Between now and closing, the team will work with staff and the lender to execute all of these documents and then work towards a successful close and funding on the 17th. Before we open it up for questions, is there anything from the rest of the team? Does anyone have anything to add? Bud, I'll throw it back to you here.
Well, yeah, let me just make one comment here. As one who has trained Rob over the last 2 years, I am pleased to say I have absolutely nothing to add to his presentation. They covered everything very well.
Did well.
Okay, well, with that, thank you for your time tonight, and we're all here available to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you for that report. It's very encouraging, very awesome. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item? Anybody online? No. Bringing it back to the council for discussion and comment. Councilmember Lombardo.
I got a question. Was it Rob's presentation? You said that we saved 35 basis points due to being locked in. What does that translate to in dollars over the life of a loan? It's substantial, isn't it?
Yeah, I could try to pull that up. Does someone from the placement agent team on the line have that figure handy by chance?
This is Bud. I don't think we ran those numbers, but to put it in, Rob, you have that comparison in your work of what the rates were in the open market. Up 35 basis points means that you'd be doing it right now at a 2.69, which is the interest rate that First Foundation has locked in. We would be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of in excess of 3%.
Yes, and I just wanted,
on average on a yearly basis.
I just wanted to make a point to the public that by locking it in, it saved us a considerable amount, and over the life of the loan, it turns out to be quite a bit of money. And
Absolutely, and it even goes further than that. That's just the change that took place from January 14th to today.
Yeah.
If we were doing a public issue, if we were coming back to you today, presenting a public issue to go to market with, we would have another month or so before that could be completed. We'd have to get a rating from Standard & Poor's. There's other factors that we would have to complete. The marketing would have to take place. So who knows where interest rates who have already gone up in excess of 35 basis points are going to be in another month.
Yeah.
I would guess that they're going to be probably, substantially above where they are now, based on the way the market is going and the way the economy is going. And the Federal Reserve, by the way, is going to be acting tomorrow, and we're going to start seeing when rate increases through the Federal Reserve are going to be put in place, and that's going to have an effect on the bond market as well. I think it's just outstanding that Oppenheimer was able to obtain through the banks that they presented this opportunity to get a bank that has been willing to lock. And it was not only just a lock now, it's a lock for 60 days. We're not going to need 60 days, as it turns out, but that was a very, very substantially advantageous proposal from them. And we could follow up with this for you and actually run the numbers.
I've got it, Bud. I did a quick calculation.
I knew you would.
Yeah.
He was
if your interest rate were to increase by 30 basis points, you'd be looking at additional annual debt service of about $30,000 to $35,000 a year. Over 20 years, that comes out to just over $500,000.
so, awesome job. I think it's great that we're going private placement. It'll move much quicker. It'll allow us to get this moving. And it seems that it's really going to be good for the public here, keeping the costs down, and the long-term payout is considerably less than it would have been just 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
Any other council members? No? Well, I think this is a tribute to, well, it's like the perfect storm. It feels like really good timing where the town's financial status, we learned a couple of months ago, is among the top 25 or so of all of California's cities, that our financial standing is that solid. And I think we're blessed right now to even have this opportunity, and this is just a very good solution for a lot of what we have ahead of us. These projects that we have, they're exciting, and it'd be great to be able to address them. With that, I will entertain a motion on this item.
I'll be happy to make the motion that we approve. Let's see, where are we here? That we adopt the town council resolution approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain lease financing documents. I'm sorry, okay, so the recommendation is that the town council adopts resolution 22, the last two numbers are not known yet, authorizing the execution of certain lease financing documents in connection with the financing of a portion of the cost of capital improvements. And the resolution of the town of Yucca Valley approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain lease within the geographic boundaries of the town and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
And I'll second that item.
I have a motion and a second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Mayor Schooler.
Yes.
Mayor, if I might just say thank you to the entire team. Thank you to Jordan for spearheading this project, as well as our entire financing team. They've just done a bang-up job for us, as we knew they would. We appreciate their timeliness, their professionalism. We look forward to getting a quick close on this and being able to move forward with our project. So to the entire team tonight, thank you very much.
Thank you. And by the way, just as an addition, we are scheduled to close February 17th. So we should be able to come back to you with a report after that with the completed results.
Awesome.
Great.
Fantastic.
All good news.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you,
moving
Mayor.
along to item number 8, 2022 Grub Steak Days Celebration Update. Can we get a staff report on that?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is in response to the Town Council requesting an update on the 2022 Community Grub Steak Days activities. The recommendation is that the council receive and file the Grub Steak Days celebration update and provide direction as appropriate. And as the council knows, the Grub Steak Days dates back over 60 years, and it has just a myriad of different evolution along the way and different activities. To provide an update for this year's 2022 activities, staff reached out to the lead agency, which is the Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce, to get a recap, and Wanda Statham, their director, is here this evening to provide an even more recent update than the staff report. Just to recap real quickly, and then we'd like to have Wanda give us her most recent information. The town's participation this year, there's an error on the staff report on the first page. That is $5,000. It's correct on the second page. That has been allocated to the Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce for the Grub Steak Days activities, and the chamber is moving forward with a presentation for 2022. Wanda will give the details, a golf challenge. She'll talk a little bit about the parade. We also reached out to the National Police Rodeo Association event. And do we have Missy Buchanan online? She's here. Oh, she's here. Oh, great. I didn't see. On the corner. Perfect. So Missy can provide an update on the rodeo. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Wanda Statham from the Chamber. Welcome, Wanda.
Hey, Wanda.
I know you've been working hard on this recently.
Yeah, I just started. It takes about 4 months to do Grub Steak Days. Good evening, Mayor Schooler and councilmen. It's so nice to see all of you again. It's nice to have something to report. I am so glad to be here.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me. I want to thank you first, before we go into Grub Steak Days, for partnering funds that has really helped the chamber, for marketing the town and helping our businesses. We just got our first batch of 2022 state and federal tax compliance posters, those things you hang in the businesses. And I'll be out all this next week handing those out, giving them away for free. They normally cost a business around $30 to buy. So compliments of the town of Yucca Valley and the Chamber of Commerce. And that was really neat. So Grub Steak Days, oh boy. I made a bunch of calls in the last few days. I got a lot of commitments. Looks like we're going to have a kickoff. We're going to plan as though it's all going to happen. We're going to have our kickoff mixer on Thursday night at possibly a new venue. And then that following day, we're going to have a golf tournament, which we've already signed up for. Got the reservation there at Hawks Landing, and we have 3 tournament sponsors already committed, which is wonderful. It'll be at Hawks Landing Golf Course. And then hopefully that night, another venue will be another country western dance indoors somewhere here in town, which will be announced later. We're hoping for a parade this year. Oh boy. We want to call it the Hometown Hero Parade. This last couple of years, the Chamber of Commerce awarded over 1,700 people Hometown Hero Awards for all the wonderful things that they did during the pandemic. They were people who walked dogs, firemen, policemen, grocery store clerks, all people from all over the area received a beautiful sticker and a beautiful card that thanked them for doing all the things that they did. So we're going to call our parade Hometown Hero Parade on Memorial Day weekend. Grand Marshal is still not firm. We are going to decide at our board meeting Thursday night who the Grand Marshal will be for the parade. The parade has 3 choices. Number 1, we get to go back out on the highway again if I can get approval from Caltrans. That will happen in the next 30 days. Or number 2, we'll have a parade inner city, inner town. I have actually found a route that might work if we can work with the Morongo Unified School District as part of our staging area. And number 3, we can always have our virtual parade like we did last year, and it was wonderful. It was put on YouTube by Yucca Valley TV, and we got comments for months from people about how neat that little parade was that we put on television. And we will honor all our hometown heroes on our virtual parade with photographs. So, parade is in the works. I spoke with the Friends of Pioneer Town, who sponsored our Pony Express ride last year, and they're on board for another really good event. We'll have some special people there to collect the mail as it comes down Main Street. The new executive director over at the Boys and Girls Club is in to win. She wants to do Kids Day. We didn't get to have a Kids Day last year, but we'll have a Kids Day this year, plus the little Mr. and Mr. Minor contest, personality contest. The Grub State Carnival Committee is working hard to find a carnival that will come this year. They also will be presenting a horseshoe contest and beard contest. So if you gentlemen want to, they're going to have some great prizes this year. So those of you that can grow a beard, start it now, because it's going to be a great contest. And of course, we're looking forward to the Town of Yucca Valley's Grub Stake Run. That's also going to be on the docket put on by Recreation Department. There's a brand new Grub Stake Days button that's being designed right now by relatives of the Carnival Committee, and it's going to have a hometown hero theme to this Western button that we're going to have this year for Grub Stake Days. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'll be back monthly now to let you know the finals on things. We're going to get to the Sheriff's Department and find out if the boys want to have a pancake breakfast. That's something that's still out there, hasn't been decided. So we're going to go for the gold and see if we can get some spirit back in town with our Grub Stake Days. Got any questions? You got a little flyer on it, right? And then before I get Missy come up here, this is happening too. This is going to be exciting. We're going for it. Our first mixer in a year and a half. We're going to be sponsored by Copper Mountain College. It's free admission to the game, free refreshments. Bring your family, bring your staff, bring all your relatives. It's all free. You'll be able to meet the new Miss Yucca Valley Court, which is, by the way, next Saturday night. You'll get to meet your chamber directors. Plus, we had 26 new members join during the pandemic. And that's just truly amazing. And they are all going to be honored at this big game mixer. And Spike will be there, the mascot for the athletic program there. And it'll be free pictures with the kids with Spike. So I'm hoping to see some of you at our first chamber mixer in a very long time. So Miss Missy, Rodeo.
Rodeo.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Wanda. We love your energy.
Oh, thank you. I'm ready to go to bed.
Ever ready bunny. Yeah. Change the batteries, right?
All right, great.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. First of all, there's no more National Police Rodeo. It folded during this time. I've had a few people contact me about the rodeo, and basically I would be willing to do it as I've done in the past if the town would fund it. And we also lost our venue, so we're looking at a couple other options. Someone from Pioneer Town has donated his land. He has about 270 acres up there. I don't know if that would work. Also, I don't know how to describe it, but over by the planning department, there's a lot over there I think the town owns, I'm not sure, but that would work really well. So I'll run it, I'll do it like I've done in the past, but we have no funding.
Well, that's a big issue right there, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Are there, thank you for that. We'll take some more public comment and then we'll bring it back to the council. Thanks, Missy. Does anybody in the room, in the public here, have a comment on Grubstake Days and/or Rodeo? And do we have anybody online? No, we don't. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for comment. Thank you for that input from Wanda and Missy. And let's
Mayor, if I might just add a couple of additional comments. So this item was brought to you per your request, I believe, at your last council meeting, just to get an idea of what was happening in the community related to both Grubstakes Days and then the National Police Rodeo Association's events that have occurred in the past. We would point out that in our discussions with Missy, it's your budget that you would need to allocate at this time to fund the budget would be somewhere in the range of $65,000 to $75,000. You may be able to get some of that back in form of sponsorship or ticket sales, depending on how the event went, but there's no guarantee. So our recommendation would be, should the council move in that direction, you allocate that entire amount without any inclination of getting funding back. If it comes back, great. If not, that would be an expense. Town staff also put in your staff report on packet page 321, just a couple of comments that you'll recollect that we have not had a rodeo in the last couple of years. Town staff has not had a significant amount of feedback, in fact, very little feedback in the absence of that event, although it was during COVID, and so that may be a part of that reason. And then additionally, we've included some of the statistics from your 2017 Community Livability Survey that indicates the level of support or lack thereof for rodeo in general, which may be somewhat indicative of demographic changes in the community. So we just point that out. But lastly, as the council wishes, one of the things that we would need at a staff level is, and I presume Missy or other organizers would need, is if that is the direction of the council, we would need that direction relatively quickly as time is of the essence.
All right, thank you for that. Any council members want to chime in on this? Councilmember Lombardo?
I'm a big fan of the rodeo. It was here when I came first to Yucca Valley, and it's always had great memories for me. Times seem to be changing. It's getting harder and harder to fund it. Pandemic has made it very difficult, I think. But Missy, I really hats off to you for the dedication and keeping it going over the years that it has. I think I would like to see it happen again. It's a little bit much to think that we have to fund all 60,000 or 70,000 of it without anybody else chiming in on it. But in the past, did we come close to breaking even? Did we break even ever in the distant past that you remember? The rodeo was pretty popular. I would go and there would be lots of people there. So can you come and talk to me a little bit about how close we came to breaking even? Where did we, what things can we improve maybe that would make it more profitable? I don't know. Talk to me a little bit about, is it really going to cost us $60,000?
That's based on 2019.
Okay.
If we were to do it again, it has to go pro. So it would be a PRCA, and when we did it in 2019, it was a combination of pro and amateur. So I would imagine that the cost would be a little bit more, but that's not considering, any sponsorships. I had somebody say that they wanted to sponsor a shoot the other day for $3,000. I haven't even asked anyone.
Right.
In 2019, I think we ended up with about $500 by the time I had already had the lot graded. We had already bought tickets and all that, and then the pandemic hit. So we've always made money, a little bit of money, or broke even.
Pretty close to even.
The 60 grand, that's not counting, ticket sales. So the possibilities of it making money, it could, but I don't know.
Because I think people are hungry for a chance to get back together.
Right.
The rodeo's always been kind of a local area thing because as much as people are changing it, it's still a western kind of area.
Right.
Horses are still, how's the horse community doing now? Are there still a lot of horse owners? And I see lots of things up near my way. The Black Rock Canyon still has lots of horse camping and that sort of thing. That's near my house, but I don't own a horse, so I'm not really tagged into the horse community.
Well, and
They still
in
thriving?
PRCA, they make it to the top by the amount of money that they win and the amount of rodeos that they attend. So PRCA is a whole different ballgame,
As a small rodeo, would we still attract top people, and would there be people coming from other areas to
Only
see
gonna
these
get
people?
top people.
You
That's
only get
all
top people?
you're gonna get.
So it's even a higher level than the
Yes.
police rodeo?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, man.
it's pro,
You're making
so
it
there would
tough.
be no amateur in there.
I see.
But,
I
you
don't know
I
if my
mean,
other councilmen will go with me, but I would risk it and say, let's have something that we can get the people back together. And I would commit to 60,000.
I'd be willing to do it if we had the backing. And then if there was money made, then it can go back to the town. Or however, we want to.
I think that would be appropriate if we could work something out. But I'd like to see it happen. And I know, I kind of almost feel bad putting the pressure on you at this late in the date. But I really like to see it happen.
I feel like I could do it.
And you think there's support in the community for what you want to do? Great. I say go for it.
Yeah, it was a little bleak, the report of 65 to 75,000, and I agree. We have 60 years of tradition for grub stakes, and a lot of that really revolved around a rodeo and the whole events that we had. It goes back to the point that we do somewhere down the line need to get our own event center. We need to get our own area to where we can host larger events such as concerts or rodeos or short track races with dirt bikes or whatever. We need to eventually be able to get an event center so we're not having to build or construct a whole entire facility for a one-time event. And it doesn't seem like down the road that's going to be the most efficient way to do it. More efficient would be to eventually build an event center. The other thing I would suggest is that, Missy, you're a one-woman show, you're Superwoman, and I really, really appreciate it. But gosh, somewhere down the line, we need to get a rodeo committee, where like you have a golf association, you have a youth soccer association, you have Tri-Valley Little League Association, where they have members, they have a board, they have, there's a group of core people to help take on these types of projects each and every year. And not having a facility and so forth, it's just a lot of question marks. In 2016, the residents approved Measure Y by 72%. And one of the things they wanted or they supported was quality of life programs. And we hear over and over again, we need to get the community, it's one thing to live and have nice streets, and, of course, law enforcement's important, all that, but you also have to have sort of pride in your community and have something to do. So that's why the concerts in the park are something that we really enjoy. We're talking about trying to do something in Old Town where we could have people gather at a market. So I think we can't overlook quality of life programs. I mean, that's part of why we're here, and we want people to be proud. And we do have a large horse community. So, yeah, there's a lot of obstacles or roadblocks there. I'm the one who asked the council to bring this here tonight and to discuss. So I just need consensus with everyone here. But there are a lot of, something happened to you, there is no rodeo. So, it's really tough to be able to donate that type of money right now. but maybe, we should, so I'm open to listen to all sides.
Councilmember Droz?
Hi. Yes, your enthusiasm is wonderful, but I worry about the lack of knowledge of what's ahead. There are a couple sites, different sites. We don't know if there are Joshua trees on them, and we don't know what kind of grading. There's none?
No.
Either site, Pioneer Town or the other one? Okay.
I would never take down a Joshua tree.
Well, no, but you still have to get a permit even if you grade near it. So, and that becomes a fish and wildlife issue. So I don't know if, without the planning and knowing the exact details, I don't know if we can commit to that. So that's my thought.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, well, thank you, Missy, for being here and stepping up to the podium. So one of the things that I remember in the rodeos in the past is that it was a lot of work and finding the venue. And I remember trying to get the bleachers and trying to find space and parking and traffic flows and all those things, not even having the athletes there yet, and all their stock and all those kinds of things going on too. So when we go to the level of professional rodeo, and I remember years ago, and I'm sure you do too, when they had the rodeo here and it was Honeycutt and they were doing that, they kind of came in with this package and they set it on the ground and that's how they liked it. It was set up correctly for professional rodeos. And so would that be something that we would be looking at in this kind of model, or will we still have the need to find these pieces to assemble an event ground? So I just remember one time, bleachers just seemed like they were out of this world for the cost of them for those events.
They are. Now it is still Honeycutt, and he does come in with all the equipment for the arena, the chutes, the bucking chutes, that type of thing. The bleachers is for the spectators. That's a whole different area. They don't deal with tickets. They don't deal with spectators. They come in and they take care of the athletes, the animals, and the arena. The bleachers, I don't think it's a problem to find. I have my contacts because I've done it in the past.
Right.
As far as cost, I haven't reached out to him, but I have a pretty good relationship with him, and I think he'll do it for the same.
And the availability of a Honeycutt rodeo would fit our window?
They are not booked at this moment.
Okay. And because I know that they have produced a very refined show, always very popular. So, and the others that we've had in the past too. But obviously there's, as you said, a difference in cost for those events. And the two sites that you had mentioned, one in Pioneer Town and then here in town, either of those you feel would be adequate for hosting the event itself, and then we would figure out parking and traffic and stuff like that.
I do like the one in town better. My business is actually over there too. Only because it's already graded, it's flat,
clean.
and it's kind of visible from Yucca Trail, as well as for parking, it's a little bit safer.
Yeah.
Pioneer Town is also safe, but it's a little bit further out. I went out and looked at the property. He wants to do other things on that property. We would have to rework the road, but my main concern was Joshua trees and the natural plants. So it's okay.
Okay, and, well, I appreciate you being here. I do. It's a lot of work, and for you to be here and be enthusiastic about it and willing to do it, that says a lot, and you've always come through for us on these events. So thank you. Mayor?
Okay. A couple of questions. The 4-month planning window, is that like scary to you? I mean, it seems like a pretty minimal time frame to pull this together. And it seems like an awful lot of moving parts to put in place. So reassure me that that's sufficient.
I've done it before.
You've done it before. Okay.
It is stressful, but the fact that I already have all the information, because I've done it and have the contacts, I can do it.
Okay, and you prefer the property that's over, town property over by the Public Works yard? I'd like to ask staff if that sounds like a feasible location from the town perspective?
There's a couple of things that I'm hearing, and we own a portion of that. So we own our Public Works yard, we own a portion of the property. We don't own the entire property there, so there would be some conversation that needs to occur with property owners, if that's even a possibility. But I'll go ahead and let you finish your conversation, then I have a couple of thoughts for what might be alternatives for you tonight.
Okay, okay. So on the financials, so you say every year it's very close to a break-even proposition, and the revenue comes from sponsorships, shoot sponsorships, ticket sales?
Beer sales.
Okay, concessions, okay. So the town would be risking this money, but the revenue would be very likely to offset most of it?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Is this the ideal time of year to do it? Something that just occurred to me. I mean, we're looking at tying it into grub stakes, but if you were to choose a time of year for a rodeo in Yucca Valley, would this be the time of year this would be optimum?
Yes.
It is? Okay. What else do I have? Just out of curiosity, what's the prize money? I mean, we got pros coming and they're going to jump at this opportunity, but what does the prize money look like?
For each,
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a participant in the rodeo, what kind of money can I?
Are you considering bull riding, Mayor?
I might want to do this.
are you going to be riding it?
Now verbally.
I could train and.
So with PRCA, the minimum added money is 1,000. In order to get the cowboy there, especially now with all the rodeos and stuff going on, I would say 1,500 to 2,000 per cowboy, cowgirl.
Times how many cowboys and cowgirls?
Well, that's the first place. So,
okay.
you know, and it just kind of, they add it in that event, and I think it goes down 3 places. I don't know what the percentages are.
Okay, I'm just
If you were to
curious.
win first place in bull riding, you would win the 2,000 plus the amount of entry money that's in there, plus whatever award they're giving, which is usually a buckle.
Okay, all right. And talked about that. Pardon me?
Is it worth the broken neck?
No, I don't have time to train.
You might be able to do the mutton busting. Ride a sheep.
Or maybe I could.
Right?
Don't tempt me. Okay, I would ask the council, are there any other questions? Thank you, Missy. Are there any other questions regarding grub stakes in general?
Go for it.
Missy, what if, the council says, well, we're a little bit reluctant now because nothing's been put together. You don't have a committee, you don't have the sponsors, you don't have like 10 people already lined up. If the council made a commitment to host a rodeo the following year, a little further away from COVID and so forth, of $65,000 and so forth, and then have you be able to come back 2 or 3 times between now and then to give updates on how it's going and commitments and all those things? Is that because we didn't have one last year, right? So we've lost momentum. Is that counterproductive? Is that going to work if we decided to sponsor for the following year ahead of time? That way you know, this is my mission for the next year. Is that going to be possible?
I mean, it could work, but I think each year that passes, I think you're losing, and then Honeycutt might get another booking at that time. I don't know.
I understand. Okay.
Tough decision.
Any other questions? Anything for Wanda regarding her grub stakes plan? Wanda, on the parade, you said inner town. What would be the parade route on inner town?
Thank you. Well, interestingly enough, the idea came from our dearly departed Gene Swella. He says, why don't you line them up at the high school and head them down Onaga Trail, as far down as you need to go. We can line up on both sides of Sage, going up where the church is, the Latter-day Saints Church. They also have a large parking lot for a staging area. The high school has a large parking lot for a staging area. We can stage on the two Sage areas, and we can run the parade that way. And we can end it wherever we want, basically, if we're on a town road. We can stop it at Deer Trail. We can stop it a little further down, and people can then leave out going east and west, no, north and south. And then that corridor that's so awful, when we close Highway 62, that two-lane corridor down there, gosh, that just is scary. Because we got 4 lanes on the highway right now. And we're going to funnel 4 lanes of traffic down to 2 lanes. It would be it disappoints the community. They love having the parade on the main drag. But let's face it, as we know about the rodeo, things change. We kind of have to go with the flow of our town. We have to watch those kind of things.
Well, I think we have a lot more traffic than we used to on the highway, and we do have median islands, and there's a lot of factors that make it difficult.
So there's still some discussion to come together on the parade.
Right.
We do have a subcommittee that's working on that right now. So.
Okay, so that route's not cast in concrete, it's just
Right.
your front-running idea right now? Okay. And what else?
Did you have something else, Mr. Lombardo?
I was going to say, if we have a rodeo and we have a parade, could the parade go down Yucca Trail, past the area where the rodeo is, show everybody the grounds, and maybe we have one of those little, I don't know, we used to have these like an amusement thing with rides and things for the kids.
Yeah, the carnival.
Carnival.
Yeah, it's going to happen. That carnival's going to happen. The only problem with that at this point, and we could still work on that, you have to have a staging area. You have to have a parking area for the people that are going to get out of their car and sit along the edge and watch the parade. And then you have to have a dumping ground where parents can go to pick up their kids and their horses. And Yucca Trail is only 2 lanes. You're going to have, Yucca Trail would be blocked off for any access for anyone, even to go to sit on Yucca Trail to watch the parade. There's no place to park along any of those corridors. There's no off-street parking for spectators. That was the biggest concern on Yucca Trail.
Staff, is that?
Because ending at the business center would be perfect if we could.
I think the Chamber Committee needs to look at alternatives.
Yes,
and discuss
we
those
have.
with,
Thank you, yeah.
with town staff. Yucca Trail, just real quickly, my recommendation to you would be no. Holiday weekend, Joshua Tree National Park, it's the highest traveled roadway off of Highway 62. That would be very, very, very difficult.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
Onaga makes more sense.
Yeah, so we're working on the parade.
Okay.
Call me anytime. Thank you.
And we're not doing our improvements on Yucca Trail during that time?
Oh, yeah, we are.
No sidewalks or widening project.
God, that was a mess.
Any other questions or comments, recommendations? Okay, Curtis, you had some.
Yeah, so just some thoughts for the council's consideration as you work through this item this evening. Clearly, the timing is going to be tight under any scenario. So there's a couple of thoughts that I heard. So Councilmember Abel indicated that possibly the establishment of a rodeo committee might be effective for a number of reasons, one of which would be to show interest in the community. So we've, for example, highlighted this item as a discussion item this evening for the community in terms of possible interest in the community, and you can see your response today for the public interest on that. the committee would, if you go that route and you provide yourself additional time, I think we would definitely be able to work through the logistics of location, all of that stuff, and budget, a realistic budget. So if you had an additional year to put that together, it may align better with a flushed out chamber coordination with the finalized parade route, the other activities that may or may not occur. So for example, one of the alternatives you heard on your parade was, while remote, you still had the possibility of a virtual parade. So you still have some unknowns there depending on what's going to happen on the healthcare side. So that's definitely an option. Another option for you this evening is if you really are desiring to see this move forward, then at the very least, we would recommend that staff come back to you at your next council meeting, flush out some of the quick items that need to be resolved. We would work with Missy to establish a realistic budget, identify what that is, identify the source of the funds, identify the property, likely property, make inquiries into whether or not that property would be available. We would have to do that and turn that around to you very quickly so that time doesn't get away from us. And then finally, another option that the mayor established was continuing with the rodeo, but maybe not in May, giving both the organizers and staff time to kind of flush that out and see what that looks like. Another one that's just coming to mind is maybe you direct staff to provide some opportunity for input from the community on, is this something that they really want to see? And we can figure out how to do that in a relatively quick fashion. So some options for you there. We'll do whatever. We just need direction as to how you want to move forward.
One more question for you, Curtis, is does this make it, if the town was to support this event, the rodeo, to the extent that Missy is suggesting, does that make it a town event rather than a community event?
Well, it would be a town-sponsored event, I think. So, and it would likely, if you move forward in this current year, it would likely cross, I would imagine we would have to kind of work together, basically collaborate. So it would maybe be a little bit less than an arm's separation that we might have otherwise with additional timing. So maybe Missy can get everything done. Maybe she's going to need some assistance with us in this or that. I don't know. At the very least, likely property would need to be coordinated since it is on town property, at least part of it, and then the acquisition of a license to use the property adjacent, even if that's available, which we don't know if that's available at this time. How that coordinates with what activities are going to be there. We would have to go through the risk assessment process, all of that, things that normally you would do with just a little bit more time.
So that would be a lot of work in the next 2 weeks of it. Going to pull it.
Well, we would want to provide, so look, at the end of the day, if the council wants to support this, we'll make it happen. There's no question about that. We can do, we have a great not volunteer, I presume that Missy's not going to do this for free. So that's going to be included in there and we'll make sure that that gets taken care of. But you have somebody that's willing to organize this for you. So if you want it, we can make it happen. Is it the easiest in this timing? Yeah, maybe not, probably not. You had 2 years. We gave you staff's input from the community in terms of how many people have reached out to us on the lack of a rodeo, which was very little. Maybe you have a lot of people knocking at your doors asking for that. I don't know. But we haven't just had that much. But we do understand, and here's the other thought, is we do understand the desire for additional events. So, for example, if you're considering putting 65 or whatever the budget ends up being to this event, is it something that the community might want in other forms or fashions that are more appealing to them? So, for example, maybe you spend $20,000 in bringing a recognized band as part of your July 4th celebration, and you have 1,500 people at Brem Park for an evening or whatever. So. I guess I'd leave it at that. I know that the last event that we had, which was over at Hawks in 2019, had good attendance. There's no question about that. Missy would have probably a better recollection on the exact attendance numbers, but there was good attendance there. So if you put on an event for the community, people will come. It just depends how the council wants to move forward. So, and like I said, if you do want to do it this year, I think we would owe you a little bit better defined menu of what that looks like. This is a range of budget. We would pencil it down to give you a better handle on what that looks like, if that's the desire of the council.
Okay, thank you. Any other council discussion?
No, one thing I would like to do is just really stress that I really feel it's counterproductive if we have the event outside of city limits or town limits. It's a town event, you know, people from outside the community will come in and so forth. But I really do like to have it within the town limits somehow. I also know that by giving the rodeo, quote, committee more time, and also knowing that we are going to sponsor gives them more opportunities to get sponsors, and then lowering the town's amount that we're providing towards the event. Because when we're talking 65 to 75,000, that's if not a dime came in, I'm assuming, or whatever, and we are going to be getting some revenue back. But I do think, like Councilmember Drodes said, I think we need to have all the information before making a decision tonight. But I do think we have to have a variety of events. The people who would come to a rodeo might not come to a concert in the park. They might not come to listen to a rock band. The people that we go to, you know, our concerts in the park might not go to the, you know, film festival. You know, so we do have to have a variety of events for our diverse community. And I really want to see how we can get a rodeo back here. And I want to do it in a timely fashion, but not, you know, a reckless fashion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, so for me, I do recall the rodeos many times being sold out. We've had some good events, some out of town, we recall, and recently in town. And my biggest concern is that we've lost 2 years of the event, and a lot of people that generally contribute to those as sponsors have had a struggle for the last 2 years too. And that makes it a little more difficult for them to be as gracious as they'd like to be for our community, as they have been in the past, to sponsor the events. And I think the only thing that I can see that would fix it, because I believe the rodeo is very popular. I honestly do. I think the rodeo is part of this town. The history of running stock down, up and down the mountain and all that kind of stuff, and stock at Warren's Well, you know, refreshing themselves to continue what they were doing. That's getting lost in all of the changes in the community. And I kind of have an obligation to kind of keep that kind of thought and be a little rough and tumble and cowboy time of year. But I feel rushed, and I don't like that, because there's so many things that are not crystal clear yet. It's a lot easier to walk into it when we've had pre-planning. And as Councilmember Abel said, you know, I've always considered kind of waiting. I wish I had a little more time, because I just started hearing about this. And a committee is important to help us reach out and get that information and get it back to us, to put together a framework and build a strong budget. And I would think, even with bringing in a professional rodeo, it almost sounds like maybe 60 to 70 might be a bit conservative. It would be much better suited to look a little broader than that and bring an event in here that we would all just say that was really something. But that's where I lay right now. I'm very concerned about the compressed timeline. We're going to lose the month of May pretty much just trying to get things put together, and we're going to lose the next few weeks just trying to get it accelerating, and so we wind up with a very little window in the middle. And that's my concern. So it isn't about the rodeo, because I love the rodeo. I think it's got a ton of value for our community. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Is there a way that we can, sounds kind of, several of us have some concern about the timing. Maybe is it possible to commit to next year doing it at this time, at Grub Stakes Day, and try to coordinate a little better, and, like was mentioned, form a committee that can bring this information in a little bit more condensed version with a little more known facts, a location where we've already talked to the owners of the land, and we know that the professional rodeo people would use that space efficiently to have the rodeo, and that there would be parking and, you know, that sort of stuff to make it all work. Maybe I would be in favor of not trying to rush through this year and maybe plan for another year.
And that goes back to having the staff come back in 2 weeks and give us a more of an update on possibilities.
That's still important. Yeah.
Well,
I think we still
maybe,
need that.
would it be possible, excuse me, go ahead, to come back with a more detailed picture of what's going to happen if we did it this year? But, I mean, obviously, it sounds to me like the council's leaning toward supporting it for 2023. One concern that came to mind was if the town says, okay, we're going to write a check for $70,000, what's the incentive for other sponsors to step up if it's covered? I'd like to know how that works.
Well, it's always PR, you know, they want to sponsor, they want to have their names out, and also supporting the rodeo so that, like you said, we could have a better professional rodeo or a higher prize money, anything like that. When we get more money and we throw it out, I mean, the contestants pick and choose where they're going to go. And if we make a commitment for a following year, then maybe that would then be able to get Honeycutt under contract for the following year, those types of things. So I think that's part of the importance of that.
Mayor, two other thoughts here that come to mind as well. So one that I don't know that we mentioned is we think that we're on the downside of this COVID stuff, but we don't know the impact that it's had on people's willingness to assemble in large numbers. We've seen that in some of our other events. There's a reluctance to do that, so that may end up impacting your potential gate receipts on that side. And then to your point, Mayor, you asked if this was going to be a town event. I believe that's what your comment was. It would be a town-sponsored event, which means that you're putting your name to it. And so when we do that, we like to deliver a quality event. And I just don't know that that's going to be as easy to do without a little bit of additional time in having that planning opportunity. So we can do it. We would do it the best that we can, but it will have your name on it as well. And quite frankly, as we ramp up some of our community service offerings, we've noticed that it takes a little bit of time to get back to that delivery of high-quality events, whether it's participants, whether it's the ones that are coming in and how they act in our facilities. There's a lot of different pieces to that when you stop doing events for a while, it takes a while to ramp back up. So,
Okay, thank you. Good input. What's the pleasure of the council? I'm sensing that looking at 2023 is the preferred strategy for the town, but we also want information in 2 weeks on if it was to go. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I think we have consensus, and it's a receive and file motion at this point. So if we have consensus, I think that staff could come back in 2 weeks.
We'd
And
like to hear more about it in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, is that sufficient?
We might ask Missy if it's possible to have.
Yeah, let me just make sure that I'm coming back with the right information. So it's a little bit different if the direction is we're doing the event, come back and tell us what that looks like versus just kind of a receive and file of what an event this year might look like. So what I've heard from the council is there's right now a preference for 2023, but should something move forward this year, we'd like to know what that looks like.
I would like to know if the land that we had talked about over by the yard would be available. So somebody needs to talk to the owner to find out, hey, are you even interested? Is it something you'll work with us on?
Well, that leaves the door open, so.
But that would help, that would be the conversation for next year as well.
Okay.
So I think it helps.
Yes, but that wouldn't be time sensitive. So
It's not time
2 weeks is time sensitive.
Councilmember Droz?
No, that's pretty much it. It just, waiting a year would be more planning time, more advertising time, more time to build it up. And if Honeycutt can't do it next year, maybe we can do it in the fall. At the same similar weather, just do it in the fall of this year. But, I don't want to commit to anything yet until we have more details.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Just one last thing, for me, an event like this, and we all know, it takes a year to plan it. It really does. This is a big event. And maybe we would be better suited to maybe consider looking at the interest during this year's Grub Stakes events and solicit the idea of having a rodeo and how that is, if there's any appetite for it here. I believe there is, but it would be a good idea, while the buttons go out and maybe start to make some kind of visual images of, Rodeo 2023, something like that. That seems, at least in the near future, and that in itself would probably take a while to market it, just to put together some kind of theme and how we're going to send that message out and how we're going to take that information from the community and assemble it and then see what we have. That is a piece, not any different than our strategic planning, to put something together. Because I have to agree with staff that I want it to be great. I really want a great event. That's what we're used to doing. That's what Yucca Valley's used to doing. That's what we all strive for. And this backside of the COVID thing, I just don't know if it's kind of an unknown for me on that, even though the playoffs this weekend didn't have any indication of slowing down. So just an idea for outreach, and that would be probably as far as I would go right now with investigation.
And Mayor, I have one more question, actually. If there was a committee associated with it, would that be a private committee or would that be associated with the town? Would it be like a town-appointed committee?
So just
I guess that's
30-second overview. So as you know in your staff report, I think Sue very well outlined kind of the history of grub stakes, and it's taken all forms from completely hands-off to completely hands-on, as Mayor Schooler remembers probably very well. With that, starting in about 2010, 11, 12 timeframe, there was clear direction at that time from the council that town really is a participant in, but not an organizer of the event. So we would just need that kind of clarification if there's direction at some point for the town to be more involved. So to answer your question specifically, Councilmember, we would encourage this to be a community-led type of activity, because not only does that help with the organization, but it also shows to the council and to the community what level of support there is in the community. Now, the town can act as a facilitator in that for sure, but I think having as much outside assistance in that is a demonstration of the interest in the events.
I think that's right.
That's a real good point. So is that the consensus is look to 2023 to support this event? Is that? Would be is that correct? Okay. Sufficient direction? Yes, sir. Okay.
Sufficiently confused.
All right.
Missy, thank
then.
you so much, and Wanda, thank you. We want the rodeo. I want the rodeo back in town, so if we can move forward in that, that'd be wonderful. And my suggestion was, for you to form, a committee within your ranks and so forth. And I would be willing to, as a private citizen, be part of your committee if you wanted it.
Very good.
There you go. Okay. No, I think it's clear the council supports the event. It's just too many variables right now to commit the funds to it this year. So we'll move along to future agenda items. Any council members have any future agenda items that haven't been previously noted? Nothing?
I believe that was our future agenda item.
Yeah, we've kind of committed to that, haven't we? Okay. Public comments. The town council takes this time to consider your comments of items of concern which are not on the printed agenda. When you're called to speak, please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The town council is prohibited by state law from taking action on or discussing items not on the printed agenda. Do we have any comments from the public on items not on the agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. We have one request to speak so far from Charles McHenry.
Evening, Mayor, members of the Town Council, Charles McHenry, Yucca Valley. Yeah, I was kind of glad to hear Councilmember Abel talk about the last council meeting about an event he went to at Desert Disco. Because my wife and I have done this what we thought was an art festival for the last 3 months, and we're looking forward to doing it again in the future. But then we found out that the organizer of the event had a conversation with Curtis. And this is not going to be a blast against Curtis. It kind of reminds me of the comment I made when Curtis first got selected for the job. Said, you may go to him with a question. And the answer you get might not be the right answer in your opinion, but it'll be the correct answer. Because the person told me that under the town's development code, this event is a swap meet. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. So I went and did some research in the town's development code. I found out that basically any event in the town where you're getting money from a vendor is considered to be a swap meet, whether it has been advertised as a craft show, art festival, art show, or classic car show. And the downside to that is that the town, I can understand, does not want to have a swap meet along Highway 62 or Highway 247. But with this being the case, it means every time I've gone to an event in the last 20 years I've lived here, or close to, it was advertised as a car show, which they've had those in the past at the Town Center Mall. That's actually been a swap meet. So I thought, well, let's see how the town defines art festival, art show, craft show, or car show. There is no definition in town development code. And what bothers me about part of this is the fact that with everybody grouped together, there are people with good intentions of putting on a nice event that will benefit the public, can't in some of these situations. Because like Councilmember Roy talked about the event we went to in December, it's a well-organized event. Local crafters or local vendors are making their products. Okay, this is a shopping center, which everybody says, okay, that might be a bad thing. But the people who are participating in this event, like my wife and myself, we buy dinner from the local restaurants while we're there. So not only are we providing something for the public, we're also using those businesses and bring business into them on an occasion we wouldn't normally have gone into those. I mean, my wife and I, we've talked to people at Stater Brothers. They said that when this event was going on, they noticed an increase in traffic there also. So we thought, it's kind of strange that this is being broken down the way it is. And I guess this is one of those things that nobody really ever looked at until recently. And it kind of bothers me because I hate to see, like, for example, the old car show. They had their event at Town Center Mall, raise money for nonprofits. They can't have it according to town code. So I'd like to see this being changed, have some stuff changed and broken down to separate some of these from what would actually be a swap meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Nobody online? Okay, we'll bring it back for staff reports and comments.
Shane, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a few items. Number one, Mayor and Council. Crack seal project is continuing. You've probably seen them around town. You've seen probably both the Measure Y signs that are semi-permanent, and the contractor's also been using portable Measure Y signs as they move around town with their projects. So very positive in acknowledging the community and their support for that measure. Staff and the PlaceWorks, the housing element consultants, had another conversation with State Housing Community Development. We believe that we will have an approval letter for our housing element in the near future, and we are scheduling a public hearing with the Planning Commission for the updated housing, safety, and conservation elements for February 22nd. And then that will be followed with a town council hearing on those same matters for final action. In the very near future, one of your very near future meetings, staff will be presenting an updated RFP for Median Island and outer highway maintenance. As you are probably aware, we lost our vendor during the COVID time period, and we are having to go back out and seek those services. Staff is looking at not just what's been provided in the past, but what other alternatives we want to consider moving forward. Last night, we held our second outreach meeting for the Onaga Little League Safety Improvement Projects here in the community center. The goal of these outreach meetings has been to make personal contact with property owners, address their concerns before we get out there in the construction process. At the first meeting, we had 19 participants. At last night's meeting, we had 3, not including Tri-Valley Little League representatives. So I think that shows that the effort has worked. The engineering staff has been out meeting with individual property owners as requested, addressing their concerns, making minor modifications to the construction plans to address those issues and concerns. Tied into an Onaga and Little League, Caltrans is not scheduled to start reconstruction on Highway 62 until April, and we're actually hoping in April that we will have California Transportation Commission approval to go to bid with both projects. Hopefully we'll be in front of the council in either April or May with that authorization to bid both projects. So at this point, we are seeing a staggering in those. Engineering staff is going to be setting up a conversation with Mattich representatives so that we can address the scheduling, and we hope to have that conversation in the very near future so we can update the town council in the month of March. Those are my comments this evening.
Great, thank you, Shane. Sue, Armando, Deborah, anything tonight?
Well, just want to let you know that the rec department is here to help you with that New Year's resolution. We know y'all made one. Time to put it to work. Our 30th Healthy Hearts Run, February 26th, 5K, 2K. Follow Councilmember Abel. Get your personal best out there. We also accepting enrollment for our adult softball program. And wanted to let you know basketball is going strong. Woo, we had a really high enrollment this year and just going really, really well. So we're happy to see it.
Terrific, thank you. Jordan, you're still with us. Anything for the council this evening?
No, nothing new from finance. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you. Lieutenant, you have an update on King of the Hammers and anything else you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, King of the Hammers, it's been busy. We've had some incidents happen out there, but overall things are going well. It's been busy. I know the captain has spent some time out there this weekend. A lot of people, a lot of business brought into the town. As you can see on the highway, it's been a lot of traffic lately. And I guess I'll just jump right into it. My biggest update for tonight is that this will be my last council meeting. Effective the 12th. I've been reassigned back down to our headquarters building in San Bernardino to our Internal Affairs Division. So just like to thank the council, town staff, everyone for the time that I've spent here. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is my second time working in the basin, and it was everything that I remembered and more. And I really appreciate everybody's warm welcome, and I'm going to miss everybody, and hopefully it's not a goodbye, but maybe just a see you later. Very good.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant. In our management team meeting this afternoon, we gave him a little bit of grief, but we've appreciated your time here, and we really, truly hope that it'll just be a little bit, and we'll see you again. So, Mayor and Council, just a couple minor or quick comments for you. You do recollect on your next agenda, we've been saying this for a couple of meetings now, but you will have your short-term vacation rental regulations updated at that meeting. So that's on your agenda for the 15th. Staff has the opportunity to do our design kickoff on the Prop 68 project with your architectural team HMC. We had a great meeting. Seems like a real good fit for us. So devil's in the details, but to start with, the whole team felt pretty comfortable with that. And then Mayor Pro Tem, you may want to talk about in a little bit more detail, but we did have the opportunity to meet with Congressman Obernolte this week. Talked a little bit about different projects that we have going on, as well as had a chance to pitch the airport and some of their needs as well. So that was well received by the congressman, and we look forward to assisting the airport district in kind of communicating and opening that door of communications for what they might need in the future and how the congressman might be able to assist them. So that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Council member comments. Council member Abel.
Well, it just goes to show you don't want to get too attached to a lieutenant because they take them away to other communities. But congratulations on that. I know it's a great position you're going to be working in, and congratulations to you. I had a question for Shane. When you talk about the possible alternatives for some of the medians, would one of those possibilities be increase our hardscaping in there so we have less things to maintain or deal with for medians?
I think when I mentioned alternatives, it's is there or are there other areas of maintenance that should be included in that professional services agreement? So should it be expanded, or is there are there any other needs that need to be addressed in that professional services contract? We can always address the physical changes as a separate issue, but really the issue that staff is evaluating is what should that scope actually be, and that'll be part of the recommendation that we do bring back to the council.
Okay, and Aldi's project is still moving forward, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I was at the fire marshal's visit to the All Restaurant. Do we have any updates? Are they able to move forward yet, or have we gotten a fire marshal or fire department approval on that?
I have not seen anything come different out of the county fire marshal's office. And our internal discussions based upon, and there's really two issues. There's a restaurant issue and there's a concert venue issue. And it's our understanding, for the most part, that the new owners have been pursuing the concert venue issue. And in its current configuration, it can operate as a restaurant, but not the large concert venue issue that they've discussed. And from what we've heard verbally out of county fire, that does not require sprinklers. And what they're hoping to do, I've heard unofficially, is run the restaurant for a while to raise enough revenue to cover the fire sprinkler costs so that they can then go back into their music venue. So everything at this point points to it operating as a restaurant in the very near future, but not the concert venue that's been discussed.
All right, thank you so much. I'm part of the MBTA, and we're going through some exciting processes right now. One of those is rebranding. So if anybody in the community is interested in their input on the MBTA, either the scope of services, but also our branding to the community, or any ideas, remember, Drodes and myself are on MBTA, and we would love to hear your input. So those are some really exciting things going on with Morongo Basin Transit Authority. And we'll have a rebranding meeting, I believe, later on this month. So if you're interested in your input on MBTA, contact either one of us if you are a member of the Yucca Valley community. I've received over 14 applications, or at least 14 applications on Planning Commission position, which is great to see that many people in the community interested in serving our community. I'll be contacting each applicant and thanking them for their application. And then I'll also be planning on conducting some either over the phone, in person, or Zoom meetings with the people I'd like to talk further in. So I really appreciate all those who have applied for the Planning Commission position. I look forward to thanking you this next couple weeks, and then narrowing it down and bringing back a recommendation to the council. That's it for me, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Droz.
All right, I'm not going to ask any questions during my comment section. Like, Councilmember Abel. No, just kidding. Congratulations, Lieutenant. We're going to miss you, but we're very happy that, you're able to move on. And I just want to say what a great meeting tonight. I'm glad Grub Steak Days is roaring back to life, so thank you, Wanda. And thank you, Missy. Hopefully we can help out with that. So that would be wonderful to have a rodeo again eventually. And that's about it. Just everybody be safe, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Councilmember Lombardo.
Well, I want to thank Todd for helping us get redistricting done in that map. I guess at this point, we've chosen the map and moved that off of the things that need to be done. And I want to thank Rob and Bud and all the others that helped get this financing set up, a private placement. I think that's going to be great for the town and allow us to get a lot of really incredible projects completed at a really good rate for our constituents. And congrats to Lieutenant on your moving back to headquarters, but hope to see you back here, okay? And Missy, I'm excited about seeing the rodeo happen in 2023. I was kind of hoping it would happen now, but it just doesn't look practical. But I know that you'll put a good effort in, and 23 will be incredible. I'm looking forward to that. And I'll lend all my support to that, too. Maybe I'll be on the committee. Are we allowed to have two on the committee? If we wanted to be on the rodeo committee, we could do that. Okay. Sign me up, too, then, okay?
We might have to recuse ourselves from approving it, but.
I don't know if I can get along with them, though, but we'll try, okay? We'll see. Maybe next year I'll like them better. Let's see, what else? I think that's it. I'm glad to hear that Obanokee was talking about the airport with you, and I'm curious and interested in how we can make that move forward, too. I think it's a vital part of our community, and I want to see it happen. Thank you, everybody. That's all I got to say.
And Mayor Pro Tem Dennison.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to just say and thank you to Congressman Albernolte for coming out with his staff last week. He was very interested in our community. He had been briefed on a few items, and some great conversation went on. I'm going to let the mayor talk about those items that we discussed, but I just want to say thank you to him and his staff for coming out, spending time with us and our staff. Thank you, Wanda, again, for all your energy and your investment in our community. It's finally good to be out and about again, and I know that we got held up for a few years, but I appreciate the work you do and the leadership that you provide the chamber over there, and some great things come forward. Missy, thank you again for being here, and you never once said you weren't going to fight all the way to the end while we were talking, that you could pull it off, and that's a lot. It's a lot of work, and I know you could do it. We have a lot of work to do, and other projects too, but it's very important to the town. And I think our town and the history of it is very important. We lose that. There used to be a author up here, Joan Wilson, used to write books on Yucca Valley, the history of Yucca Valley, and there's a whole series. So if you ever go to the library, look up Joan Wilson. It'll show just tons of history of this community, and most of it is themed completely in the grub stakes kind of era. And that lasted a long time up until just, a couple of decades ago. And thank you, Lieutenant, for all your work. I appreciate you. You've always been approachable. You've always taken good care of our community, and it's very important. So now Captain Niles has his work cut out for him again. He keeps finding great candidates to help us out in our community, but it's a big calling. So I know you'll be down there at headquarters, and you'll be able to put in a good word for us. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Couple of things. I'd like to give a thank you to town staff for managing our finances the way that you do, and even bringing this opportunity to our attention. It's a good heads-up call, and I think the timing is perfect for what we have in mind and what we have ahead of us. So thank you, and good work to town staff for that. Reminder to those who applied for funding under CDBG that we do have a partnership opportunity in our annual budget, so would encourage them to please apply under that program. And Congressman Obernold, he did visit us last week, and that was just the fact that he would take the time and come out. And he's done this before, but to come out and ask about our issues and to respond to our issues. He's offered help in several areas, including the airport there. He's very interested in that and providing solutions and sharing information that about Washington and how things work in Washington and how they don't work in Washington too. But it was a good visit, and I think it speaks well for him that he would come out and share the time with us and want to know about this community. Missy, thank you. Thank you for your spunk. I think just being willing to take this on and to say, I can do it in 4 months, I agree. I know you can, but we do have a few considerations here that we need some assurances, that we're going to have the quality event and not have COVID impacts and so forth. And the short time frame is it makes it difficult. And Wanda, good job. You got us rolling again. I know you just got started on this. You said you just got started, but yeah, I think you can pull off this laundry list of items that you committed to. I would like to also, well, where am I? Yeah, just remind people, we did have another coffee with the mayor this morning, and we're doing that on the first and third Tuesdays of the month on council meeting days. Town manager and myself and staff are there at the Hawks Landing at the Roost Cafe at 8 o'clock. And that's kind of a round table. It's whatever issues you'd like to flesh out. The public is certainly encouraged and welcome. We had a fair turnout today of people coming and good conversation with community. So I would like to encourage people to come out. We're always interested in what you have to say. And with that, we'll announce that the next regular meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council will be held on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Yucca Valley Community Center Yucca Room. And with there being no further business, I will adjourn the meeting.